Hello, my beautiful friends. We just pressed the let's go live button, and boy, oh boy, are we excited to be here because it's a lovely Friday. We made it through another busy week, my friends, and boy, oh boy, has it been busy over these last couple weeks. Lots of stuff happening. We've got some very fun stuff queued up for us on the day. Bunch of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden crime family business. He's trying to run away out into the wilderness and into the pasture, but Hunty has a trial coming up in September. And we have some very interesting filings that we're going to unpack today. Hunter's lawyer, Abbe Lowell, getting scolded by a federal judge. And it's a fun order to read through. Order to show cause. Basically, Abbe needs to come out and explain why he's misrepresenting what happened with Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida. And so we're going to go through that. We've got some requests from the Department of Justice. The federal government wants some Biden family members to come and appear at the trial. And apparently one of those family members is going to be invoking the Fifth. And a lot of this, I think, has been percolating for quite some time, and it's all going to be culminating in a trial in the first week of September. And so we've got a bunch of stuff to get to today, my friends. Very excited to get into it with you. Thank you for joining us. We saw this one right out of the gate. So starting on the day, we were asking ourselves, when is Hunter Biden's sentencing going to be on his gun case? Remember, we've already talked about that one at length here. And he was convicted on 3 different charges related to that event. And we had a sentencing, and it had not been scheduled until today. Our friend Inner City Press dropped this one for us, and we can see that fresh out of the oven, he just posted this, Matthew Russell Lee, telling us that Hunter's sentencing is not going to be scheduled until November 13th. Oh, so the election will be over, right? And then he'll be sentenced. And so they are just squeezing that one through, kicking that can down the road over there in Delaware. And so we've got a bunch of stuff to get to today, my friends. Thank you for joining us. It's an amazing Friday. And I want to bring in our good friend who we know very well, who's been on the show multiple times, because he's an amazing person doing amazing work. In fact, we have him join us every day on this show right here. See that little puppy? That's right. That is the report on the Biden laptop. I've got 2 copies because I like it so much. He is the one and only Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo, USA, and we are now going to be seeing Garrett. What's up, Garrett? Welcome aboard, my friend.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on. This is great. A lot of topics.
A lot of topics to get to. Any thoughts immediately on the sentencing date for Hunter in the Delaware case?
I don't know if Mary Ellen Noreika's ears were tickling, but it's a pretty weird timing. I just ran some reports to the post office when I got the court listener docket alert. I'm going to have to send you the 4th printing, Robert, because we just got it in. New cover.
Perfect.
People say it's the best printing yet. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, but it's 8.5 by 11. So it's a huge dossier. And we had an internal debate for hours about which picture to use. We love this crack pipe picture.
It's a good one.
The crack is very visible.
Yeah.
You can see the prostitute's long 2-inch nails. She's actually lighting the crack pipe for him. And so I'm going to get you some new copies of the dossier. Nothing in our mission has changed. Some people wrongly think that we're a 501c4. And so we are somehow devastated by the fact that Joey is no longer running for president. We've actually had an increase in donations since he dropped out for the dossier. So if Hunter thinks that he's just going to get off scot-free, that nobody's going to pay attention to his conduct now that his daddy bowed out, got disappointing news for him. And I sent you the link earlier today, Robert, about we're still in litigation with him.
Yeah.
He's still, we actually have to pay our attorney's fees. Hunter hasn't paid for any of this for years, and his attorneys still work for him because they're really working for Joe and the DNC. It's a disaster, and he wants us to pay $18,000 to his attorneys. It's totally ridiculous. But we can go into that. There's a lot to talk about today. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And I think that you're right about that. I think that there's going to still be a lot of energy about corruption that the Biden family brought upon us. And now that Joe's not running, from my perspective, it feels like a lot of the shields that were protecting Hunter and the rest of the crime family will start to come down. Everybody was a little bit scared to go against the Biden family when they had the power, but they don't have the power anymore. Or they're about to lose it pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
maybe that opens the floodgates.
Yeah, we're in uncharted waters. There's nothing that you and I can turn to in American history to help us see this through. When Lyndon Johnson bowed out, he had 40 minutes on video live to the American public, which you can go watch on C-SPAN. That's cogent. I don't agree with much of it, but at least he was cogent. Joey had a robo-signature sign a letter that he didn't even, I mean, at the very most, we can surmise that Joey dictated some of it. But you know he's not on Word doc typing that thing out. And then they had a robo sign it. And it's the only time I've seen the signature, and you've talked about this, be underlined. He never underlines a signature. We know this family so well, we're inside their intestines, basically. So this is a total disaster, what's going on. And we're going to stick at it. If they want to follow along, I'm going to be talking about Liz Secundy and Hallie Biden today a lot because they're the subject of motions to compel testimony, giving them immunity in exchange for it. They're mentioned on multiple pages in our dossier. You can go to bidenreport.com. That has the free e-reader. It's updated, so the contents of the fourth printing are the contents of the e-reader. And we'll be talking about them a lot. We call them sisters from hell. They're the Olivier sisters, Hallie and Elizabeth. And unbelievable family.
Yeah, and I think more is going to continue to come out, and I'm hopeful that it does, because I hate the idea that Joe Biden can just dump all over America, come and just smear the walls with garbage, and then just write off like he's some heroic person who did the country a great service.
All of the golden handcuffs, Robert, that they had to give him to bow out. And you know, my friend Greg said it's a weird situation for Joey. It'd be like writing your suicide note with a gun to your head already, meaning he didn't want to do this. But the real power brokers, Nancy, and I learned this. Nancy's actually older than Joe, so even in real life, she's like the older sister, not just in politics but in real life. And Nancy came in with Obama and with Hakeem and with Chuck Schumer, although Hakeem is probably number 4 on that list in terms of raw power. But they pushed him out. And in order to do that, I think you're going to see a huge presidential library go up in Greenville, Delaware. Our nonprofit, which has a very narrow focus, to be frank, we'll be focusing in on each person involved in the construction of that library. And we will put BLM stickers. We will make sure that BLM stickers adorn every stall of that Biden presidential library. So we're going nowhere.
Well, what were your thoughts on that? Let's stick with that for a second before we jump into this order to show cause and then those other 2 motions. Yes. What we saw the photo when Joe Biden was evidently speaking from the Oval Office, the photo of Hunter and the rest of the family kind of lined up there. Yep. And it looked like they were there at a funeral. And we were joking that Joe Biden was eulogizing himself. I've never seen that before, but it was pretty impressive how they did that. But what were your thoughts on that? What was the composition? I mean, you know those people better than anybody. You saw the facial expressions, and yes. What was kind of going on in your mind about what was happening in that room during that address?
I think Jill looked the saddest. I think for her, she's so entitled that for her to go back to the estate in Rehoboth and Greenville, Delaware, is really sad for her, because this has never been about the nation for Jill. And her first husband says that. He doesn't even recognize her now. He loves our dossier, Bill Stevenson. He's coming out with a book. And he doesn't even recognize the woman he married anymore. This is somebody who is, I think, more power drunk than Joey. Howard Krein was there with Ashley. They're just married on paper. If you read Ashley's diary, you know that he and Ashley have screwed about 6 people during their so-called marriage. It's like JFK levels of infidelity. And then you had Hunter and Finnegan, his daughter, one of his 4 daughters. He's got one in Arkansas that Joey won't even FaceTime. But Finnegan looks the most like Nelia, his mother, and I think is the most reasonable of the 4 daughters. The little one, of course, is a joy and cute, and she's in Arkansas. But Naomi has her problems, constantly asking for money, etc. And then Maisie, who just graduated from Penn, is a total disaster. I'm going to send you the URL to Maisie's art. In fact, we could even drop it in the chat at the end to get some discussion going. Maisie, his daughter who just graduated from Penn, and by the way, she got into Penn because of Joey. Joey intervened and talked to Amy Gutman, who then Joey nominated to be our ambassador to Germany. The current ambassador to Germany got Maisie Biden into Penn. This is like, remember Operation Varsity Blues, where they were scamming to get their kids into college? The J6 commissar who subpoenaed me and my boss and who testified to get my boss in prison for a sham misdemeanor, his name's Mark Harris from California. He's still in our focus. He was the defense attorney for a lot of the scammers. The Full House mom who paid for probably a Chinaman to take the SAT for her son. So what I'm trying to say is the Bidens are Operation Varsity Blues. That he met with Amy Gutman multiple times and said, you got to get Maisie in. And sure enough, Maisie got in. And then Joey was the presidential practice professor at Penn. Can you imagine taking a class with Joey?
No, and they're going to lose all of that access, right? So he's not going to be running again. He's not going to be able to promise anybody anything. And
yeah, he's going to be calling in the favors now because he walked off the stage with a gun to his head. He had a .43 Glock pointed at his temple, and Hussein and everybody was like, hey, we can't pull this con off. And what's so, I have friends on multiple sides of this issue. Some say that the plan all along was to have the debate so early that they could do this. Remember,
right.
Some of your viewers may forget, we've never had a presidential debate in June. When that June 27th debate happened, it was a first in American history, first that wasn't run by the cartel known as the Presidential Commission on Presidential Debates. I don't actually oppose that part, but one of my friends said that DJT should have never agreed to that early date, Robert, because what that did was it allowed the Dems to swap out. If DJT agrees to even an August 27th debate, that's not enough time to get Kamala's name on the ballots. It still is. So
right.
That's a very interesting thing that the debate was this. I don't know what I believe yet because why? Because we have humility and all of the chips haven't fallen. I can't assess the situation yet. I do follow Bongino's rule a little bit, but mine's even longer. His is a 72-hour rule. Mine is like the 7-week rule. We may never know if the debate was a setup, but I do know that the timing allowed for them to change out Joey. And the only reason why they did change out Joey is because the con was exposed, and to a degree that the public would not buy the election fraud. It was going to be such a blowout.
Yeah, the plausibility. You could fake it as long as he was just barely functional. They could fake it. They could do all of the media stuff that we're actually seeing right now with Kamala. But when we all got to see it on full display, the facade crumbled, and that was
even last night on the tarmac. I mean, it was a little bit late. Remember, I really want to explore this argument because I think it's fascinating, and it came from one of my most intelligent counterparts about the debate being purposely in June. Last night, when they picked up the people who were held at the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews, it was really late for Joey, and they scheduled the debate on June 27th to start at 9 Eastern. If somebody was looking out for Joey's self-interest and they really wanted him to stay in, you put that sucker at 4 p.m. That's sundown time for him, man. He last night on the tarmac, his mouth was open for about 85% of the ceremony, Robert. It was unbelievable. His mouth is gaping open. That's early onset dementia 101. So I don't know what happened. I do know that they have enough time to switch Kamala out, and it involves us again. Kamala is from the LA legal community. We're being buffaloed right now in the Central District of California by a Marxist judge named Hernan Vera. He knows Kamala. They all run in that same circle. Yeah. Monica Almadani, who decided on our recusal motion, both she and Hernan Vera were the CEO of a left-wing nonprofit called Public Counsel. It's all a big incestuous pool. And Doug Imhoff was a longtime partner at DLA Piper at their LA office. So that mafia is still going strong, even with Kamala at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, and there's been an entire stand-up, an entire operation that we're watching unfold. The media's on it, the social media companies are on it, and the big money's coming in to act blue. I mean, they're standing up what feels like a lot of the same Obama infrastructure and honestly a lot of the same Biden infrastructure because Biden wasn't really a functional candidate or a campaigner. He was a puppet. They stood up the infrastructure around him. And so it feels like they're just parlaying off that. Kamala, again, they just slot some other face in there. The candidate almost doesn't even matter.
And my former boss, the last value add I have on this matter is my former boss made a good point about how Kamala was chosen eventually because the money can now go to her. If they would have chose something the FEC rules are enforced terribly to begin with. You and I know that. They're not fair. They don't apply to everybody. But assuming that the FEC decided to do its job and they picked somebody who wasn't on the ticket, they could really require all those funds to be refunded. So
yeah, we went through some of those rules and talking about where the money would end up. It's how some of it could go to a PAC, but then it could be earmarked, and it's complex. And I don't think anybody really understood what was happening. And Kamala was just an easy person to shove in there to inherit that money. She's at least barely functional, and there's a lot more plausibility with her. I think it's a real risk with her because when they put her on the ballot, when they do what they did in 2020, we go through that situation again. We know that they will because they're already cheating. They're already trying to throw him off the ballot, prosecuting him in multiple jurisdictions, and the list goes on and on. But when she wins, they'll be able to come back out and say, oh, or if she wins, let me say, they'll be able to say she activated the African-American vote, or she activated the women vote, or it was all about abortion or whatever. And that'll be their justification
for the steal. Yeah. These are all multifaceted issues that you and I could talk about. Hopefully we have all the time in the world, but these are very thick. And Doug Imhoff, one thing that Marco Polo is really looking into is Doug Imhoff's kids. These kids are a disaster, Robert. Have you seen Ella?
I've seen the pictures of, yes.
Ella is, and these aren't kids. Marco Polo doesn't go. That's what Hunter and his attorneys want us to believe, that we go after 7-year-olds. I have kids of my own. I'm not going after a 7-year-old. Ella's like 30 or almost 30 years old. She's got armpit hair and her boobs are hanging out. She's disgusting and repulsive. And she's in the fashion industry. They have every incentive to get on the gravy train. Nobody is hiring Ella if Kamala ain't the Veep. Okay?
Right.
So I would love to see what Ella's brother's doing. We're creating a file on him. And there's no way Doug Imhoff is just having tea and doing Soul Cycle with his gay friends. And I mean that sincerely, not disparagingly. He literally told a magazine that when Kamala got the nod from Joey, he was at Soul Cycle in Brentwood with his homosexual male friends. Not a joke, as Joe would say. And so I don't believe that he soul cycles all day. And he retired from DLA Piper with a wad of cash. And I don't know what Doug Imhoff is doing, but Marco Polo can and should find out. What's he doing every day? Besides the fundraising, there's no way he doesn't have commercial interests.
Yeah, I am excited to see what you guys unpack there because
thank you.
You're excellent at it. But the current thing we've got pulled up today to jump into some of these filings is what's happening with Hunter. We're in the Central District of California. And so I wanted to jump into this order to show cause because this is a big no-no.
4-pager.
Yeah, it's pretty short, pretty quick. Let me pull this up on screen so we can just pull through it together and show everybody what we're working with here. But this is something that attorneys absolutely hate to get, right? This is like you're in trouble. You have to come down to the principal's office because you screwed up. It's called an order to show cause. And you have to come and explain why you did something. And this was issued by the judge out of the Central District of California. And what happened here is...
Before we start, Hunter is suing us in this district. He got Scarsey, who's writing this opinion, a Trump appointee, a high IQ patent lawyer for his case, Mark Christopher Scarsey. And we get Hernan Diego Vera, appointed by Joey. So just set the stage. He's suing us in the same court that he's being indicted in.
Right. And so, okay, thank you for that color on there. So this is now Hunter's team, to give some background on this, right? They submitted a motion to dismiss this entire case. So Hunter's been charged with various tax crimes, I think 3 felonies, 6 misdemeanors.
I got it laminated for us, Robert.
Oh, you got the chart. Perfect. Right there. So
and
that
I
is
highlighted the 3 felonies, 6 misdemeanors, 3 felonies. The big one, the one that I think has the most potential for serious prison time, assuming he doesn't get a pardon, a very fair assumption. We believe he will, even if on January 19th, is the tax evasion. Following a false return is also a felony. He had that for both the 1040 and 1120 form in 2018. But the big one is 7201. That's what Capone got. And that's 7201 has the most teeth. It has 10-year term maximum. And it's real. It's his 1040 for Hunter Biden in 2018. And this is right from the DOJ website. And what I would urge everybody to go look at is the indictment. We went through the indictment back in December together, and I de-anonymized the people, places, and things alluded to. It's one of my favorite interviews with you. Is they don't name the person. It's like Romanian businessman 1, and I hate that. We have to go name the people, and the reason why it's multiple charges. I'm just setting the stage for the charges. The reason why it's multiple charges for the same year, and you know this, but some of your audience might not, is 1120 is for the business. So Owasco PC, Owasco is a Finger Lake in New York where his mother's from. That's why he named it Owasco. Owasco PC is his law firm. He practiced no law. So, in fact, my buddy remarked, Tyler Nixon from Delaware, who went to high school with Hunter, who loves our work, he said that the trial in Delaware is the most time Hunter's ever spent in a courtroom. And he has a JD from Yale from 1997. He's not a lawyer. This guy can't argue his way out of a paper bag. Amazing. But the Form 1120s for Owasco, and remember, he paid the hookers, the crack dealers, the sex club from Owasco business accounts. So it's not just that he's taking the Owasco cash, putting it to his Wells Fargo personal account and paying the hookers. He paid from the business checking account. Hilarious stuff. Hilarious.
And he wrote it off, right? He said it was a business expense. That's sex club.
That's the charge, right? Yeah. One can make an argument that there could be like some state law violation of paying the hooker with your business checking account. I guarantee we could find something. But that's like a little bit funny. The hilarious thing is then he wrote it off as a legitimate business expense. Remember, the smartest man in the U.S., taking him at his word, I want all the audience to just shoot this in your veins. Taking the U.S. president at his word, the smartest man he knows from a pure intellectual capacity believes visiting prostitutes is a standard business expense. For a Biden, paying a crack dealer is a standard thing in business. You should be able to write that off. That's just like a lunch at Jimmy John's.
Right. So hilarious. Good stuff. It is amazing. And the arrogance, and for a long time he might have gotten away with it. I mean, we just barely got onto this because of some whistleblowers and the laptop and your work. And it's like,
no, the laptop, all we did was, and we did do it better than anybody, but all we did was chronicle the contents of the device. If you're out there, I urge everybody to go pick up a physical copy. Go to BidenReport.com. It's a free e-reader. At the top of the e-reader is a purchase button. Go there. He has the 3rd printing. This is the 4th printing with the new cover. We finally got the backlog. We had 397 dossiers on back order. I was getting like 5 emails a day saying, where the hell is this thing? We finally got them all shipped out. They're all delivered.
Amazing.
The contents of the device are chronicled in this report, and they go through the criminal activity. So why can if I didn't have the laptop, Robert, I would not pontificate so forcefully about these crimes. If I don't have an email notification, if I don't have a Venmo receipt, if I don't have a picture of the hooker bent over, if I don't have videos of the hooker bent over, we are not going to say we for sure know he did this. With the laptop, we can for sure say, no, he really did this. It's actually, there's no plausible deniability here. So that's why the laptop is, I'm going to make up a word, it's unreplicable. in American history. There'll never be this much data before where we can say, no. We can cross reference the Venmo to the text to the email because he's stupid enough not to delete the Venmo receipts.
Right. And we also corroborated it with all the public reports about where he was. The news was reporting on it. And so it was something.
And how I heard of you the first time. You covered our SARS and the subpoena that we were given by somebody within JP Morgan, which is the subject of a current OIG report, an investigation within the Treasury Department, because Hunter got his daddy to look at to have the OIG open up investigation from us. We've said from the very beginning, we got it from an insider at a bank. Abbe Lowell doesn't like that. Abbe Lowell doesn't think that we're legitimate publishers. We say to hell with Abbe Lowell. We have all the data to prove it, and we have the SARS. So let's say there's a devil's advocate out there that's watching this today and say, you know what? I don't like the way Garrett Ziegler or Robert talks. I don't believe him. That's all BS. Okay, fine. Go to the SARS. What does JP Morgan say about Hunter Biden? Don't take our word for it. Look at what JP Morgan submitted to the Treasury Department, to FinCEN.
Right. It is endless. And so now this is all coming to a head, right? It's all kind of, not all of it, but some parts of it are coming to a head in this trial.
Yes.
And they say that he had about $1.4 million, I think, of taxes that he owed over about 3 years. And trial's coming up. A lot of that money went to hookers and prostitutes and all the things. And we're now in court. And what the defense has done, so this is Hunter Biden's defense, they've submitted a motion to dismiss the entire case. And what's wild about this is that they're trying to use Trump's dismissal as justification for Hunter's dismissal. And so just to catch everybody up on where we're at, remember that Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida dismissed that entire case because she said Jack Smith was unlawfully appointed. Clearly, Jack Smith was never appointed by the president as a U.S. attorney, never confirmed by the Senate, had no lawful basis to do anything. Also was illegally taking appropriations. Also $24 million, I think, was the total amount. So dismiss the entire case. What Hunter's team has done is come back and they've said, well, if you're dismissing that special counsel case, you should dismiss our special counsel case. And the problem with that is that David Weiss is not at all like Jack Smith. And so the judge is coming through here and telling us Hunter moved to dismiss this indictment, saying that David Weiss violates the same parts of the Constitution that Jack Smith and his appointment violated. And so this is where it gets really aggressive from the judge. We'd just love to see it. It says the court orders Mr. Biden's counsel, this is Abbe Lowell, to show cause.
And Mark Geragos, who just joined the case, the Midas Touch guy, one of the funders of Midas Touch, one of the worst assemblages of scumbags in the United States. Ben Meiselas, he should be disbarred yesterday for all of his lies. But
interesting.
Geragos hired Ben and is behind Midas Touch. These are the people we're dealing with here. Geragos, Abbe Lowell, Christopher Mann, Angela McCullough, Tina Glandian, the attorney for Jussie Smollett. They're all being asked to show cause.
Ooh, so they all got busted. They're all coming down to the principal's office for, and this is not for something insignificant, okay? It says why sanctions should not be imposed for making false statements in the motion. All right, false statements, it's the legal nicety of saying lying. Why are you lying in our motion? You said this happened. It's not true. I know it's not true. So you need to come and explain why you lied to us and why you should not be sanctioned for that, right? This is mom calling you in and you're in big trouble. So the local rules of this court require compliance with the rules. Violation of professional responsibility rules may serve as a basis for discipline, striking of pleadings, imposition of other sanctions. And in support of this motion, so here, the rules say you're not allowed to obviously make false statements of facts. So don't do that. The rules are clear about it. This is something that lawyers take exams over just to make sure you understand the rules of professional conduct. Before you ever take a bar exam, you have to take another exam to make sure you're not a piece of work, supposedly. Then you actually pass the bar exam. You also have to pass character and fitness. They go back through your entire life, make sure that you've never gotten a speeding ticket that you haven't told them about, all this stuff, right? We can't lie. Not supposed to. Now, in support of his motion, Mr. Biden asserts through his counsel, all these attorneys that Garrett just explained, asserts several times that special counsel Weiss brought no charges against Mr. Biden until after he received the special counsel title. And special counsel Weiss brought no charges, they write in the motion. So they're referencing Hunter's motion, saying he brought no charges in this investigation with his U.S. attorney position. But as special counsel, he initiated legal proceedings on both sides of the country against Mr. Biden in Delaware and in California, saying Mr. Weiss sought special counsel status before bringing any charges. But the judge, right, this is a federal judge, comes out and says, all right, look, these statements, however, are not true. And Mr. Biden's counsel knows they are not true. Whew. So in his role as U.S. attorney for the District of Delaware, Mr. Weiss did bring charges by information, including 2 of the misdemeanor offenses subsequently charged by indictment in this court. Then, and in an earlier motion, before this court, Mr. Biden's counsel also recognized that Weiss brought criminal charges against Biden before the special counsel appointment again. And remember that this is true. And we covered it, and we were pretty much outraged that they just took David Weiss from this U.S. attorney who was like BFFs with the Biden family in Delaware, and they're just like, oh, we're just going to make you special counsel now. What? The same dude who was investigating the underlying thing is now going to just suddenly inherit this case, and you're going to say it's like now a new independent investigation just because you gave him the title of special counsel? So specifically, counsel acknowledged that U.S. Attorney David Weiss, so the defense counsel, filed 2 separate informations against Mr. Biden. One information charged, so you guys, the attorneys themselves are saying that he's been charged with a single count felony unlawful possession of a firearm, substance charge, and they charge Biden with the tax charges, which is all what happened originally. And so the judge is not happy, man. And when you see this language, the misstatements in this current motion are not trivial. Mr. Weiss's institution of charges against Biden in his capacity as U.S. attorney offers a meaningful distinction between this case in California and the non-binding district court decision in Florida, opposite side of the country. Whole totally different district, different state, different jurisdiction. It's not binding on this judge. And it's totally different anyways. But Mr. Biden's motion does not even engage with this distinction. Instead, counsel avoids the issue by misrepresenting the history of the proceedings. So they're lying about what happened, and then they're avoiding the bad stuff, right? So there's a duty of candor, which means you got to be open. You can't hide stuff behind the closed door. This court has little tolerance for lack of candor from counsel. All those attorneys. And you can see they're going through a bunch of case law saying that they've admonished a bunch of other people in other instances. And so this came out, counsel for Biden shall respond in writing to this order within 7 days. And so that response should be out and due. Failure to file a timely and satisfactory response will result in sanctions. You may withdraw your motion or amend your motion, but doing so will not obviate your clear obligation to respond to this order. Whoo! That's from Mark Scarsey, baby. And if you don't read a lot of legal documents, all right, that's like, that judge is pissed. Okay, like it may not come across as pissed, but that judge is pissed. So he should be, because they're liars, man. They know that this is not even close to the same thing.
The funny thing, and everybody on the stream should realize that's nice and quick, right? It's a 4-pager. It's not a long order at all. It's put together well. And the funny thing is, I think the second, this is an assumption, but the second that Lowell and Geragos, and I'm mispronouncing his name, couldn't care less. It's Armenian, Garagos or Geragos.
Yeah.
The second this came through the ECF, I think Lowell was surprised because he probably didn't even remember the lie. They've been trotting out this lie so much, Robert, over the past 6 months that in their gradation of lying, this is like at the bottom now. Meaning every single press conference that Lowell does, he says, oh, when Weiss didn't bring charges for 3 years, and then after he gets made special counsel, he brings them on the other side of the country. All of that is rhetoric. All of that is bullshit. And information that was announced June 20th, 2023, after the whistleblowers came forward. And I love that you brought up Weiss earlier. Weiss, some people on the stream may believe that I like Weiss or that I'm pro David Weiss. This is all a limited hangout. I'm not saying that the attorneys aren't going to work hard at the charges that they brought against Hunter. Our complaint is much deeper about the charges they brought against Hunter. Not that I think that Leo Weiss doesn't want to beat Abbe Lowell for purposes of his own ego. I believe he does. But there's no money laundering and there's no FARA. And if without those two things, it's a limited hangout. But the lie, going back to the lie, the caption of this episode is true, but I do want to add a quick addendum. They are misrepresenting what the district court opinion in SD, Florida does for the Central District of California, meaning it doesn't apply, right? It's not binding. It's one district court judge, and they're appealing it. Obviously, I agree with it, and I think they're going to win on appeal. But nevertheless, Scarsy does make a point that they don't even address that. He does not engage with this distinction. Instead, counsel avoids the issue by misrepresenting the history. So you're right in that the caption for this episode on YouTube and Rumble is exactly right. They do lie about the applicability. They are literally comparing apples and oranges. What does this mean? Weiss was appointed by the president, confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Jack Smith was not. They pulled him out of The Hague with his hagiographer leftist wife who wants to be a brown noser to Michelle Obama for the rest of her professional career. Totally incomparable. However, the order that they're wanting the attorneys to show cause on is just about their statement that Weiss Weiss didn't charge Hunter until he was made special counsel. Meaning Scarsy isn't wanting them to show cause about the apples and oranges. It's just that in their response to this, I'm not sure if it warrants a whole other episode, to be frank, but the response to this order came about 72 hours later from Geragos and Lowell that said that it's just a single word, that we were inartful. That's literally the phrase they use. We were inartful about a single word. We are going to change, and they amended the motion. They're going to change the word charges to indictments because, as you know, but maybe not all of your listeners, indictment is not the same thing as an information. No grand jury in June of 2023 indicted Hunter Biden. His attorneys and Hunter were going to agree to that via an information. It's a weird term, I get it. But nevertheless, those were two misdemeanor informations that doesn't require a grand jury, whereas a grand jury of his peers in Los Angeles County, probably, maybe somewhere from Riverside. I think Riverside covers some of the Central District. It's a huge district, largest population in the U.S. judicial district, even more than the SDNY. But they are just talking about the lying with regard, and remember, why does this matter? Well, first of all, Lowell should already be disbarred based on these proceedings way before this. Lowell has sued us in Lowell has sued us in one jurisdiction and then written 5 different letters to the federal and state governments. And it's not about us. I'm not saying this to say, oh, we're so tread upon. I'm saying that in each and every complaint, Robert, and each and every docket entry, Lowell lies. This is it's taken us 18 months for a district court judge to say, Lowell, dude, you're full of shit.
Right.
I mean, it's so bad. They just put on the special counsel's office just put a motion in 48 hours ago. And I am a nerd. I do track the court listener updates on these cases religiously, maybe even with a capital R. They just put a motion in 48 hours ago that said Lowell lied during the trial in Delaware. What do I mean by that? He said in a opening argument, and give me some rope here because you did this for a living.
Yeah. In
an opening argument, an attorney can reference what a witness is expected to say, right? The opening argument's like, I'm John Doe. You're going to hear from the police officer on this witness stand that there was blood on the shirt. But Lowell did that, and yet they never called the witnesses.
Yeah.
So he said, you're going to hear from Jimmy Biden. And Jimmy Biden was not called. And the special counsel's office is just saying, hey, he can say that. if Jimmy is called.
Right.
But you're bringing attention to evidence. You're in lawyers and judges more particularly are rightfully obsessed with what is said in front of a jury because they don't want to be overturned in a mistrial at the appellate level. So if you're going to say to a jury, you're going to hear from this witness, and that witness never shows. So what does this mean? The special counsel's office asked Scarcy to make an order. It was a motion in limine. I think in limine is how you pronounce it. To bar Lowell, pun intended, to bar Lowell from saying anything to the jury about a witness that never shows. So what I'm trying to say is that this stuff is taught in 2L. Lowell, for $2,000 an hour in his cufflink shirts with Winston and Strawn behind his name or underneath his signature line, goes to Delaware and breaks rules that are so basic. Right. And the special counsel's office didn't realize this at the time. They have the benefit of transcripts now. So they're going through and say, holy crap, we should have brought this up in the trial because Jimmy never testified. And he told the jury that you're going to hear from Jimmy Biden. And he never showed. So I'm very passionate about this because I am fair. If these attorneys were honorable and were accurately representing reality, because reality is objective. You and I can't wake up tomorrow and become females. It is what it is. If these attorneys were accurately representing reality, Marco Polo would not go down hard on them. It's these guys are liars. Kevin Morris is a liar. Abbe Lowell is a liar. And I think you're excited too about this 4-pager because it's the first time in 18 months. Noreka got a little bit annoyed with Lowell. More so with the staffer at Latham & Watkins who conned her clerk. Remember that? Yes. She had another motion to show, or she had another order to show cause, but that was a paralegal at Latham & Watkins lying to her clerk. But this is the first time a judge has come by to the counsel and said, it's too much for me at this point. Lowell's a demon. Lowell is a demon. And I think that if a pardon is to come, based on the sentencing date that you just talked about, Robert, it's going to come the last week of August because this trial doesn't start till September 9th. It was scheduled for June 20th, and he got a continuance. I'll be there, and the crazed second wife will be there. Kevin Morris is going to be mentioned every day in this trial because Hunter is going to try to argue that he paid his taxes. Hunter didn't pay a thing. Kevin Morris paid him, and then they called it a loan, and Hunter hasn't paid anything back. He doesn't even have to start paying till October 2025. So I know I just talked 5 minutes straight, but there's a lot of angle to this.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for the detail and the explanation on that, because there is a lot of history here. And what I recall, to me, it feels like there might be like an attorney case kind of a mismatch. Like, in other words, Abbe Lowell and some of these people are used to practicing in civil courts and civil law. And so they behave a lot of the same way that they practice civilly, which is just, a lot of motion practice and paperwork, kind of file everything and then deal with it after the fact. And here there's a little bit more scrutiny, I think, on some of those details. And like you said earlier, they may not even know where they're at. They're just kind of filing because this docket has been very busy. They're filing a ton of stuff.
I think that Lowell has had some success. He got Goldbar Bob Menendez off on a mistrial in 2015 in the District of New Jersey. And then he got a lobbyist named Tom Barak off, not guilty, completely exonerated in the EDNY in 2022. So Lowell has had some success. What I think it's more profitable to look at them as sophists. I think him and Geragos. Now, I can't speak for Glandian and the other junior attorneys. All I know is that Lowell and Geragos have a lot of experience in criminal law, which, like you said, it's even less of an excuse now. I mean, Lowell's like 74. There's no excuse for this. I mean, if he's 44, I don't think Scarcy even writes this probably, but because it's so late in the litigation, we're 4 weeks out from trial.
Right. So, and that stuff matters, right? The judges look at your experience as a lawyer, experience as state bars do, at least when it comes to discipline and sanctions and things like that. Like, Do you know better? Should you know better? Would it just be nice to just give you a little, reminder about that the next time you're in court? Or is this a judge reaching the breaking point because they've seen a pattern of it over and over and over again? And I think that we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to be at trial when it does come up.
Yes.
We also have some subpoenas, basically, that have been crafted. And I don't know much about these people. We do have, of course, the big one. It looks like it's Hallie Biden, I think.
I know everything about him. So that's why I only want to be on certain shows, because I know when I'm a value add and when I'm not.
Well, you are here tremendously, and we're glad to have you. Thanks for doing this with us today. We can
start with Hallie or Liz.
So I got Hallie pulled up right here. This is what it looks like just for those who are following along at home. It says, and this came from David Weiss, right? Or from Leo Weiss, who is on the
it's weird,
prosecution
the surname
team.
Weiss is Jewish, Wise is Catholic, but the sounding is so, you don't know, and remember, Leo Weiss and a couple of other people from the Baltimore area are all Rod Rosenstein acolytes. They all love Rod. And Robert Hur, who did nothing with the obvious felonies that Joey committed. Joey had no plausible deniability. He wasn't an ex-president, and very little was spoken. I read every page of that report, and very little was said about the Senate docs. Remember, Joey had classified documents from the 70s in his library. It'd be like me stuffing classified documents from the 70s between my books here. And Robert Hur, Leo Weiss, Rod Rosenstein, they're all part of the Baltimore Mafia. And what I mean by that is they're uniparty Republicans. Leo Weiss is a Republican. Rod Rosenstein is a Republican, but they're uniparty Republicans. And they're Eastern Seaboard uniparty Republicans at that. And so that's what the filter is. That's the filter that we should all have when reading these filings. Leo Weiss is sharp. I wouldn't want to be indicted by him. He's much sharper, in my opinion, than Derek. And why do I say these things so flippantly, sounding so flippantly? Because I went to every day of the trial. I was there. Derek Hines mistook cocaine for sawdust, literally. And he made other mistakes during the trial. I think, and that's why Derek took the gun charge, because that was the easier trial and the less important trial for a somewhat dumb charge. Meaning, if Hunter, let's go into that. This is a much more important case.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts in the aftermath of having attended that trial, because, like you said, we've got Weiss, we've got Wise, right? Leo Weiss, David Weiss, and
Derek Hines.
But before the gun charge trial even started, before this tax charge even started, these guys, in my opinion, were working to make all of it go away. They wanted basically a non-prosecution agreement at the outset. And I think it was until we had some whistleblowing and some more activity around the laptops that the plea deal went awry and the charges had to come. So when you're there, you just said Leo Weiss, you think you'd be concerned about being indicted by him. Was he aggressive? Was he animated? I mean, like you said, he's fired up here based on what you've seen? I
just think he's sharper. I think that, first of all, he's older. He's got 9 years on Derek Hines. Point of privilege, they're both huge. They have a nickname in the District of Maryland as the Twin Towers because they're both 6'6". So it's a little bit imposing, because Abbe is this like 5'5" Jewish guy from Manhattan, and he's looking up at Leo Weiss, and it's just a little bit imposing for Abbe. So Derek and Leo are both good attorneys in the sense that they know the law and they write very well. But Weiss is just 9 years older, has much more experience, and I think is better he's better in the saddle. And
I guess I was asking more about like enthusiasm or energy. I didn't think that they had a lot of motivation or incentive to bring this case.
They are committed to seeing through this limited hangout, meaning they're committed to getting Hunter on the charges that they brought against him. But you and I both know that the charges are insufficient.
Right.
So they're going to be able to say, hey, look, we got this scalp. We got 2 guilty verdicts, but they're leaving the most important, because like I said in December, Robert, Marco Polo and the American public is only halfway interested righteously on what happened to the cash once it was in the bucket. The porn, the hookers, the drugs. That stuff is interesting and abominable, especially in light of how Joey described Hunter. But what is more important from a national and a national security standpoint is how that cash got in the bucket. And that's what this trial should have been about. It should have been about FARA and money laundering from foreign principals. This trial is now what he did with the cash once it got in the bucket.
Right.
And so the only reason why I made a distinction between Hines and Weiss and their relative intelligence and overall doggedness is because there's a reason why Leo Weiss, the older one, I think he's 46 or 47, is taking this case. This is his baby. He charged the Enron folks with accounting and tax fraud. And this case is objectively more difficult. It's 9 charges. There's a ton more paperwork. The gun case was cut and dry. Of course he was guilty. And that's why we never went down hard on Lowell not getting a mistrial, because it was a difficult case to be a defense attorney for. The only time we get on Lowell and call him out is when he's lying. That's what we care about. Yeah, defense attorneys got to be defense attorneys, but you ought not lie. And this case, I think it will be cruel for Joey not to pardon him before this case, because there's going to be sex clubs. Whatever transpired in Delaware, his 5'2" second wife screaming expletives in my face outside of the courtroom.
Yeah.
By the way, she's helped us sell 500 reports that day.
Nice.
No matter what she does, it won't even compare. That's what I want people to go through. Go to our Twitter page. Go to our X page, everybody. Marco Polo 501c3. Why do I say that? Because we are literally going through the 247 exhibits that the U.S. government, the special counsel's office, has proposed for this trial, and about 200 of them can be found on the laptop. For the first time in American history, we are going through an exhibit list before a trial and pulling out the exhibits that the jury is going to see. So when they give us just enough description, like email from CPA to Hunter, right? And we go and they put the date. So then we go into our BidenLaptopEmails.com site and pull it up. We have this huge mega thread. I'll send you the URL. We have this huge mega thread that's going, it's 90 tweets deep. It'll be 90 to 200 tweets deep going through the exhibits. It's clear as day. So, and if a judge is going to be fair, if Scarsy is going to be fair to Hunter, he could be looking, if his daddy doesn't pardon him, at anywhere from 15 to 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, and I like what you just said about that. The question that I had coming up later, of course, is does Joe pardon him before this stuff starts or after they start? He's got a clock is running out on this. I don't know if the election changes his decision. Does he want to wait till after the election? But after the election is after trial starts. So then he's going to leave his son hanging out to dry in the middle of the trial. So he's got kind of an urgency there.
When he was still running, it was always a question of timing. I think now the sentence date is weird. I don't know why Noreika, with a trial starting in September 9th, let's be very liberal on the amount of time it takes to try Hunter and say 4 weeks. They're saying it's 3 weeks. Right now I'm trying to get lodging by the First Street Courthouse.
Nice.
Because I don't have to get, the 5 is terrible. You know about it. The traffic is terrible. Yeah. So let's just be liberal and say it takes them 4 weeks. That puts us at October 9th. Why the hell do they need another 5 weeks for sentencing? They should get his ass up there October 10th. So this is a weird sentencing date. I don't know why she set it that far out. Why does he get 5 months? Most people get 60 days. DJT gets less.
Right.
And they were wanting his ass in the seat July 11th.
They did.
70. He gets convicted May 31st. They were wanting his butt in the seat 45 days after a conviction. Hunty gets 5 months.
Yeah.
It's absolutely infuriating.
Right. And they bumped Trump's back a little bit only because of the immunity.
Yes.
And that's going to be now in September.
Yep. Still a lot of time during the election. Why don't they put DJTs on November 13th? That would be more reasonable. By the way, I'm just looking. I want to, at the end of this, Robert, go through. I've screenshotted 5 of these comments that I want to address.
Yeah, great. No, we'd love to do that. We always talk so much that we don't have time for all the questions, and there's so many great questions that come in. So
Hallie Biden, let's spend 5 minutes on each
let's hit
order.
it. Let's do it, and then we'll jump into some questions. Okay, so here is the actual order. And this is coming, as we talked about, from the prosecution team. Very short. They both look basically exactly the same, I believe. So this is the special counsel. This is David Weiss. He's asking the court right before trial is starting for an order to compel Hallie Biden, who Garrett will tell us a lot more about, to testify and to produce evidence pursuant to U.S. Code, saying that we respectfully represents that Hallie Biden has been subpoenaed to testify at the trial beginning on September 5th. Counsel for Hallie Biden has advised, so her attorney, that if Hallie Biden is called to the stand, she will at that time refuse to answer questions, invoking her constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. And so in the judgment of the special counsel, the testimony of Hallie Biden may be necessary to public interest. And so acting Attorney General Stuart Goldberg approved, and an authorized deputy approved an application for an order instructing her to testify, saying that wherefore, pursuant to U.S. Code, the special counsel requests the court order Hallie to give testimony relating to all matters within her knowledge about which she may be interrogated in this matter. In support of this motion, special counsel attached this the declaration. And so that's the order. And so
you're an attorney, so you can speak about this more articulately, but they need this approval per DOJ regulations from Stuart Goldberg. The whole point of this is that they're going to make Hallie testify, but anything she says cannot be used against her directly or indirectly. So I'm a big believer in the Fifth Amendment. During our deposition, Abbe Lowell asked me about the Fifth Amendment, and I had to correct him. He gave a lying interpretation. He said that if you invoke the Fifth Amendment, that means that your testimony would tend to implicate you. And I said, no. You need to go back to 1L, man. You do not have to say a thing. You can be convicted of murder, and nobody forces you in this country to say a freaking word. Right. And I love that. It's one of my favorites after the first.
Very important, yeah.
And so she doesn't have to talk, but if that threat is no longer there, then you can compel testimony. And that's what so Hallie Biden is not just an innocent widow of Beau. She was screwing Hunter, and she was taking the Chi-Com cash, and in some cases even directly received money from foreign principals. And they have that through the bank records.
And Hallie Biden, so did she also testify in the first?
She did, and they made her.
She did.
She testified in the Delaware trial, and I was sitting right in front of her attorney and her husband. She ironically she set the marriage date for her and her new financial advisor husband from Cincinnati named John Anning on a Sunday, and the trial started on Monday. So I think they set that wedding date like back in November, and then they ironically just got a terrible trial date. But she was there, talked about her crack addiction. Remember, the smartest man the U.S. president knows got his brother's widow addicted to crack cocaine.
And she actually found the gun, right? She's the one who found the gun.
She found the gun.
Right.
And to be frank, she knows this, and she admitted this in iMessage. But Hunter wouldn't have been in that Delaware trial without Hallie. Hallie is nuts. Remember the Hot Crazy Matrix video? Yeah. All women are at least a 2 crazy. This is scientific. Hallie is like a 9, okay? She took a gun out of his console and threw it in a trash can outside of a public supermarket.
Wild.
It's his fault. It's her fault that he even got prosecuted, because that gun would have never, I don't think he would have ever used it. But there is a fun inside joke. The FBI code name for the investigation into Hunter is Sportsman. That's because he told the Delaware State Police that he was using the gun for target practice. Never used a gun for target practice. He lied to the state police. So that's why it's a tongue-in-cheek. It's tongue-in-cheek. It was hilarious. Hunter gets the Secret Service code name for Hunter, by the way, and this is another exclusive in our dossier. We also got help from a New York Post writer on this, is Chieftain. So we had a couple memes cooked up of Hunter smoking a crack pipe as the old Indians did, right, as a peace pipe. So Hunter, you're paying for this. The Secret Service is guarding Hunter Biden. They call him Chieftain. And the FBI calls him Sportsman because he was using it for target practice.
Right. Yeah, while he was passing out, right, sleeping on the hoods of cars downtown, cracked out.
Yeah, with a dealer named Mookie.
Crack.
Guess what?
Mookie, yeah.
Talk about limited hangouts. We called Leo Wise and Derek Hines on their limited hangout, and they submitted the night before the closing arguments, Robert, they submitted text that we put on Twitter on Sunday night. So we submitted text that show that Hunter was using crack. Hey,
wow.
You know what? I'm just going to go to it real quick.
Wow,
it's going to be
that's
under
amazing.
The sex-related crime section. He's going to be with a crack addict named Kellyanne Corey. The date is October of 2018. He's in a hotel in Newark, Delaware. He's with Kellyanne Corey, and he's in a Red Roof Inn Plus. And this is Hunter. It's redacted. Don't worry. He's buck naked with the crack addict. You see the cocaine right there? Yeah. That's a screenshot from a video. The prosecution still didn't submit that. And one of the charges is that he was on drugs while he possessed the gun. But they did get one of the other texts we submitted. So on Twitter, we put this on Twitter, tag David Weiss. 3 hours later, they submit part of the text we put on there.
That's amazing. So evidence from your report shows up in the actual trial against Hunter from the government prosecutors.
Precisely. This never gets covered by the mainstream media. They all want to call me an extremist. Totally ridiculous.
Right.
Absolutely
actual
ridiculous.
Evidence used in court.
This is a screenshot from a video. Guess what? We have the file name. It's img_0005.mov. We tell the prosecution what to search in the laptop.
Amazing. So what are we expecting? What are we expecting Hallie to add to this? Right. So doesn't want to come in and talk. She didn't want to come in and talk last time. Now she talked about the gun stuff in the first trial. Now what's coming up from her? You think is going to be the highlights of her testimony?
Hallie and Hunter both received payments from the Chi-Coms. Principally an entity called CEFC and its affiliates. And at that time, they were living together. And so they're going to be asking her about particular payments that Hunter made that were then written off as business expenses.
Okay.
And she is going to be there because she was there, meaning she's going to be at the trial and being in the stand because she knows that these were Hunter committed perjury. Because he swore and signed his name on a tax return that was obviously false. So she was there in the room when it happened, as was her sister, Liz Secundi, if you want to pull up that motion, because they're the same. Let's give the public and the viewers of this episode a little taste of who Hallie is.
Yeah,
on February 3rd, this is Hallie. That's Hallie Biden. That's Bo, and this is their two progeny. They actually named their son Hunter after Hunter.
Okay.
And Hallie, again, got addicted. She got addicted to crack cocaine, had sex videos with her brother-in-law, her dead husband's brother. And they actually had a sex toy kit shipped to their house on February 9th, 2017, they for $24.95, they used the express next day shipping for a UK-based sex toy company called Love Honey. And so what do we do in the dossier? We put the email receipt.
Yeah, you just had the receipt there. All right.
So what do? We got pictures of Hunter with Bo, and then Hallie.
Yeah.
And again, this is within 2 years of Bo being put in the ground. And again, Joey and Jill, March of 2017, gave a statement to page 6 of the New York Post and People magazine that said, "We're all happy that Hunter and Hallie found each other during this difficult time." While he was still married to Kathleen.
Wild.
Joe's a total mess. I don't care what grab-ass DJT played in the 90s when he was single. Dude, your son got your daughter-in-law, your brother, the widow, addicted to crack cocaine.
Right. And they didn't even want to talk about it. They buried the whole thing. The media never investigated any of this. They just, come up with weird slogans like the other side is weird, and they don't look in. Like, Hunter was married to dead brother's widow, and everybody just kind of carries on. It's a weird family, man.
He was never married, but he was cheating on.
Cheating on. Okay, there you go.
But Kathleen, this was like the last straw for Kathleen. Hunter had always used foreign prostitutes on his business trip. She said this in her own book, but she wrote that off. She said, when he's in China, he's in China, right? Let the guy sow his wild oats. He's a Biden, and nobody else with a Biden. When he did the brother's widow, that was too much for Kathleen. That's when she said, you're out of the house. I'm sorry, Hunter. You may be the smartest man Joe knows, but you ain't living at our family home anymore.
Your brother's widow. It's like, what on earth is happening? Okay, so let's talk about Elizabeth Secundi. We also have this document. So she also is getting a subpoena and testimonial immunity so she can testify, saying her counsel says that if she takes the stand, she will refuse to answer questions. Same thing. And so got the same approval, once again, by Leo Weiss. So she'll get a subpoena to come into court, and they'll give her some testimonial immunity so she can talk about this stuff without facing charges. What do we know about her, and what are we expecting from her?
Elizabeth Secundi is the lone sister of Hallie Biden. Joel Secundi was her ex-husband, who tragically just died of cancer. I actually called up Joel when he had cancer. We gave to his GoFundMe page, but that was years after he got divorced from Liz. But Liz's maiden name, as is Hallie's maiden name, is Olivier, Olivere, and she was sexting Hunter at the same time her sister, Hunter's brother's widow, was having sex with her. They were apparently FaceTiming naked. Hunter bought her, quote, extra small panties. And this woman, Liz, was at the time basically living with her sister, Hallie, and Hunter employed both Hallie and Liz. So to answer your question directly, Liz knows, because she went through Hunter's statements at the time, we know this because of emails, she knows that the things that Hunter wrote off as business expenses were not business expenses. Yeah. So that's why they want her testimony, because she was there. And Liz has never supported herself, which is fine. My wife doesn't support herself because she's married to me, right? And that's totally honorable. What's not honorable is FaceTiming naked with a guy who is employing you, even though you do no work, while he's also screwing your sister. So we call this the Olivier sisters. And Ron Olivier, their father, blocked us on Twitter because we tagged him and said, first of all, he was denigrating somebody politically. And we said, dude, you need to sit down. Both of your daughters, your only daughters, got nailed by Hunter Biden. Like, Ron Olivier should not be able to he shouldn't show his face. I mean, the fact that Ron Olivier hasn't moved to the Villages is insane.
2 daughters, yeah. It's bad.
So Liz is the sister of Hallie. They're both equally degenerate. Liz is on 7. I just searched this in the e-reader. Liz is on 7 different pages in our report. Hallie's on 25.
Wow.
Liz is a chain smoker. And get this. This is funny. Liz is a counselor. She's a registered counselor. Audience, once you go through this report, you will know that Liz should not be counseling anybody on anything. Liz is the one who needs counseling. So it's absolutely hilarious. I've screenshotted now 9 comments I want to address.
Okay, cool. So we'll make sure we get to those. So we got just two witnesses now that are going to be compelled to come in to testify. It sounds like they're going to have some pretty damning stuff. There's going to be a lot of evidence in this one. We'll see, I guess, what Joe Biden does if he tries to derail this with a pardon or something before the trial starts, because that's happening in September, and you're going to be there. Yes. And people, of course, know where to find you. Obviously, I want I
Go
want to
ahead.
make sure we hit this hard because there was this article that just dropped today also about you and what's going on with you and all of this work.
Yeah, and
so
more importantly than me, than the C3, right?
and that's
If
what
I
Marco
wanted,
Polo.
yeah, no, Marco Polo is what I care about more than I care about myself. It's like my family, well, God, family, Marco Polo, and then me, and then my friends are above me, and you get what I'm trying to say.
I get
The
it. Yeah.
C3 is more important than me. The C3 does amazing work. We're a private investigative nonprofit group, the only such group on the right. We're the only group of our kind. And
Yeah.
Hunter wants our small C3, which has 1 employee and 3 board members and a bunch of independent contractors, to pay his legal expenses.
Right.
It's unbelievable. This is the president's son who doesn't even pay he doesn't pay his own attorneys.
Right. And they're attacking people who are holding them accountable, right? This is not like Hunter was wronged in some way or something like that. You are holding him accountable. You're reporting on his criminality and his malfeasance. And so he's trying to take you out, Marco Polo out, everybody who's a part of the organization. And so there was an article about this, my friends, over at Law and Crime that just came out today. And
they always pick the worst picture of me, man.
You look great, dude.
These people are so terrible.
You look great, man. You're handsome as hell. So
I've gained 15 pounds since the mortgage, and I have 3 little kids now. I know that I've gained a little bit, but I'm still handsome. I'm not what I was. I'm not what I was. But guess what? That is the worst damn photo. There's so many photos of me, and they pick a freaking screen grab. You look handsome. I want Western justice on these law and crime writers.
You got a beautiful image here. So give us a rundown, man. So how can we support you on this? Right now, this is, I guess, going through the appeals court. Story tells us that Hunter wants $18,000 in attorney's fees. Give us the lowdown.
I laugh because if I don't laugh, I'll scream.
Yeah.
They said that our anti-SLAPP motion was frivolous. Guess what? The exhibits that they cite in their motions, Robert, are my public participation. They're my own transcripts of interviews I've done just like this. They put forward as exhibits in our lawsuit about why and how we hacked Hunter. They use my own statements. And anti-SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. They are saying that our motion to dismiss, which was denied by a Marxist La Raza judge named Hernan Vera, is frivolous. And yet they're using exhibits about my public participation to support that motion. And because when a motion is deemed frivolous, that's when attorney's fees can be awarded. And so we put forward a motion yesterday that says this is ridiculous. First of all, they don't even give us an invoice. They just said that, oh, yeah, by the way, Gregory Ellis of counsel at Winston Strawn makes $1,400 an hour, and he worked on this for 8 hours. Says who? Says Gregory Ellis? These guys lie all the time. They're in another court getting asked to show cause why sanctions shouldn't be imposed. The least they could do is give us an internal billing statement with Winston and Strawn letterhead. They don't even do that.
Right.
So
the accounting, what they did,
everything that I just alluded to and more in a more succinct fashion can be found at fightbiden.org. That has the URLs to the dockets themselves. When I hear somebody talking about a lawsuit, my first question is, okay, give me the docket, right? Because I'm a how do I say this in a very PC way? Get rid of all of the foreplay nonsense. Just give me the legal documents. That's why I love your program, because you go through the legal documents.
Yeah.
Go to fightbiden.org. That has everything. It has the URLs to our lawsuits. It has all of our motions. It has a history of this. Because we're a small group, we get hardly any mainstream media recognition. Because our budget is only $200,000 or $300,000, nobody looks at the total harassment we're facing. We're not just being sued by Hunter, the sugar brother, the bong smoker, the guy who's given Hunter 10 mil in liquid cash. He's suing us for doxing. Guess what? We won on one of the causes of action, and Morris is now appealing that to the California Appellate Court. So we got Hunter in the federal court, the bong smoker in the state court, and none of them accuse us of lying. Not one of them. We're not being sued for lying at all. because everything we say is documented. They're accusing us of doxing and hacking because we received from a third party. The chain of custody is very simple. J.P. McIsaac, Rudy Giuliani, Garrett Ziegler.
Yep.
All that is laid out in our report. Not one file has been proven to be modified. And if you look at our Twitter page, all of our social media is Marco Polo 501c3. If you look at our Twitter page, we spend almost half of our time correcting right-wing people because they spread lies about Hunter. We say, this report's enough, man. 459 violations of state and federal laws and regs.
Yeah.
There's no need to make anything up.
Yeah. You've done it here, man. You've nudged us in the right direction. I oversell something and you nudge us in the right direction.
Well, no,
I think your work is responsible.
This is no way towards you at all. I'm
no, I know.
saying that if I were a defamer, if I tell my mom this because she gets so worked up about these liars. If I can't imagine being in litigation where I actually thought I messed up because I would try to settle, right? I'm not perfect. We can all mess up. If I really did screw up, if I pulled out, if I ran a stop sign and non-fatally hit somebody in a bike, I would be the first one to come forward, right? Because I don't want to be in litigation. But this is ridiculous. This is horse shit. This is not legitimate legal disputes. This is somebody saying, hey, this guy's made me mad. Daddy, go investigate him.
Yeah.
And try to bankrupt him. Not one person has brought up the difference in station here, Robert. So I will. You have a 28-year-old, me, father of 3 kids under 4, running a nonprofit, paying our legal bills through the nonprofit. You have Hunter not paying anything, living in a Malibu mansion supported by a corrupt lawyer, and nobody says anything.
Right.
Like these aren't legitimate legal disputes, but we got to pay people to get them off our backs. So the law and crime bit that I sent you, it's from a liberal, non-leftist perspective. But we'll just fight it out. And I hope I can come back and update your audience on what we have going on. They're never going to. They dismissed the case against Rudy. The one with Patrick Byrne may not go to trial. He'll never dismiss it against me. We have cut so close to the bone, and we've done nothing wrong. They just think that we're out to humiliate them. We're not. We're out for the truth. I don't want to spread any lies about Hunter. I don't want to say anything that's false about Hunter Biden because I don't want anybody to say anything that's false about me. I would never want that to happen. And if somebody says something false about me, I want to apologize. So I'll shut up there. And I got about 10 screenshots of good questions or things that need to be corrected in the comments because I really want people to comment. I love the back and forth.
Let's do it. So, yes, you've got some. I've got some. We got some super chats that come in. Do you want to grab one that you want to start with, or do you want me to?
Yes, this was said at 2:25. I'll start with the negative. King Ginger 333, quote, I feel like the laptop is slim pickings at this point. Ziegler should look into 2020 election fraud. So this is triggering to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, my boss and our office produced something called the Navarro Report. I don't think anybody in the White House in 2020 cared more about election fraud than my boss and me, Peter Navarro, my former boss. Yeah. So I've done so much on 2020, and that's a wrong conclusion about the laptop. You know why? Because the laptop's not about Hunter. That's why his lawsuit against us is ridiculous. It's about Joe. And guess what? It's even bigger than Joe. We have Kamala Harris's cell phone in the laptop. There's so much there. Yeah. 128,000 emails. So my response to King Ginger's 333, and I'm not condemning this person to hell. It's just a good back and forth. I would urge him to go to BidenLaptopEmails.com and realize that this is bigger than the Bidens even. It's bigger than Joe, and it's certainly bigger than Hunter.
Yeah, and Biden and the Biden crime family is just one family in the entire Washington establishment, right? We've seen what's going on with Menendez and others, and I think it's symbolic. It's a caricature of a much deeper problem that exists throughout, and it might be the only cracking of the facade that allows us to open it up and explore it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else you got?
This woman at 207 said, "I enjoyed meeting you at Denver. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm going to all 50 states. Colorado was number 12.
Nice.
I'm speaking tomorrow in Long Island, in Huntington Station. Go to MarcoPolo501c3.org. I'm speaking on Long Island, New York tomorrow. So forward thinker, nice to meet you in Denver. I'm going to all 50 states."
Cool.
I sent my copy. This is 209 at K Bean. I sent my copy of the Hunter Biden laptop report to Joe Rogan. We did too. And I'd love for you to get a new one.
Thank you, K Bean, for doing
that. We sent him the report. Right afterwards, he did follow us on X, but he's not having me on his program. Maybe he'll do it later. How can we get this report? BidenReport.com. If you want to go directly to the donation to get a physical copy, it's BidenLaptopReport.com. But if you want to view the e-reader first, which I urge you all to do, go to BidenReport.com. Wow, Family of the Year, said Ty Alexander hilariously at 3:05. Guess what? In this dossier here at BidenReport.com, you can do a side-by-side. We have a side-by-side of Hunter at 48 putting M&Ms on his penis, and then Joe accepting a Father of the Year award within 2 years of each other. Joe in 2016 got Father of the Year. And then his 48-year-old son was putting M&Ms on his penis.
Amazing.
John Mann said at 3:02, projection, Garrett. I don't know what I'm projecting. If you're saying that the left is projecting that which they do, of course I agree with you. Charlene says, I love your guest, Garrett, at 2:16. I thank you, Charlene. I love you too. Play and Hooking 1 at 2:15 said, I don't choose to be in someone's intestines. Close, but no. So obviously this is somebody who hasn't followed us, because it's a play on words. We say we give people digital colonoscopies. So when I say we're inside somebody's intestines, I am completely hetero, proudly married, a father of 3. I'm talking about the digital colonoscopies that we performed on each member of the so-called first family to produce the dossier. The Marco Polo app, Spacey 11 at 3:10. No, Marco Polo app is a way to communicate. We're not that at all. We're a C3 that does opposition research. So go to MarcoPolo501c3.org. This is the last one. Patrick H at 3:15 said, I take offense to that, being a fellow smoker. Hey, this isn't about smokers. My dad loves Swisher Sweets and Miller Lite when he's schmoing, okay? I love cigars, or I did. Nothing against smoking. When I'm talking about the bong smoker, Kevin Morris, I'm talking about somebody who is supposed to be advising his client. Remember, Hunter is still Kevin's client. That's why they can make that documentary and it can't be subpoenaed, because they're saying,
and they have all the attorney-client privilege, and
it makes me so damn mad.
I know. Here's one. Here's a question from Tim on Locals. Can I buy a copy of the book in Canada?
You can buy the book in Canada, but you can only have it shipped to a U.S.-based address, because we're small and don't have the funds to do international shipping. We have to do it all ourselves. So it's a very simple fix. There are mail forwarding services for $30, and we've shipped them. We know the addresses to the mail forwarding services are at. We've shipped. We know, because the people email us, to New Zealand, Australia. So just get a mail forwarding service that's in the States. There's 50 of them online. And we ship to U.S. addresses.
Cool. Yeah, and I'd encourage you to do it. It's a nice thing to have. All right, so here's another question from Spuds on Locals. It says a question to Garrett. Did he ever look into the reasoning of Hunter's horrible tattoo of Finger Lakes on his back? His mother was from Skaneateles, which is near, I believe, it's a dig towards Joe for her mysterious death. Anything like that? Ring a bell?
Totally. We talk about it for 3 different pages on this report. He got the tattoo in late September, early October 2018, and it's a memento to his mother, because she's from there, and it looks like a tiger just clawed his back, but it is the Finger Lakes, and he's pretty proud of it. Many selfies buck naked sent to prostitutes about it. Can I do one now? It said, Joe Kermachi at 3:24 a minute ago said, God bless this young man. He doesn't know he will never win in this game. So first of all, this isn't a game. to us. I'm dead serious about this. What this is about exposing the truth. So if Joe here is alluding to the fact that bad people win in this life, I would just say, go read the Old Testament. Evil people prosper all the time. We confess in the Lord's Prayer that God gives daily bread to even the evil people. So it's not on us it's not on Marco Polo to prosecute people. All we can do is put the truth out there. And that's the only thing that I answer to, is whether or not what I say and write is true or not. If it's not, I apologize and retract. So Joe is a little bit confused about what our mission is. We're not a law enforcement agency.
Right. And you're not a prosecutor. You're not in the government. You're I guess a journalist. What would you call it? An investigator. You're somebody
I'm
who
an
wants
investigator.
to bring the truth.
We are using opposition research in the nonprofit sector. Usually guys like me in our group, and our board is made of me, an attorney, and a private investigator. Usually folks like us are employed by campaigns, right? That's what we are. But we're not. We've never been employed by any campaign, because that would be illegal and against the IRS regulations. And unlike Hunter, we don't break those things. So we work on behalf of the public at large, and we use proprietary databases that are available to private investigators to expose corruption. That's what we do.
Amazing. And you're very good at it. This one came in over on Locals from Rub Some Dirt on It. This is a funny one. He says, Rob and Garrett are Polo bros, baby. We got Polo.
I know. I love this brand.
It's a great brand, man. It's good. They're solid shirts.
I can't golf worth a shit, but I love golf clothes. All my
it's a good one.
Are golf clothes.
These are good. The collars stay nicely. They wash well. It's a good shirt. All right. And so let's see. We're going to do a refresh over on Local, see if we had any other questions, because I want to make sure we get them before we lose you on the day. But okay, man. So we covered some good stuff. And so what's next for you? You've got the trial coming up. Anything you're working on currently right now?
Yes, we just finished. I would urge everybody to go to our website and look at our directories. Last week, we published the directories for everybody in the special counsel's office and the U.S. Attorney's office in Delaware involved in the investigation of the Bidens. We actually just submitted FOIA requests to these agencies because we have a whistleblower within the federal government who gave us information about we're being investigated. So there's an active CISA and DOJ investigation of us right now. And so that's what we're working on. We sent in FOIA requests. When they lie in the FOIA request, you can expect lawsuits to commence. So Joey's administration is investigating us. It's absolutely tyrannical. For nothing, the pretense for investigating us is doxing. One person asked, is this guy a Fed? Absolutely not. I was a political appointee. I lost my job when DJT. If I'm a Fed, then DJT's a Fed, because I was a political appointee and I worked in Peter Navarro's office. So couldn't be further from the truth. I actually loathe most federal government employees. I'm not of the opinion that most of the FBI is staffed by good people. This is something that the Republicans always say in committee hearings. They have no evidence for it. I'm not saying everybody is evil, but but there's no way that the agency can be this broken and believe that 85% of them are good guys.
Yeah, they do that distinction.
Somebody said young for a political appointee, Spacey 11. Well, I would just say my cousin was the youngest press secretary in U.S. history, Ron Ziegler. He was the press secretary for Richard Nixon. And 28 is not very young. I got a beard. I'm a father of 3. 28 is not very young. My ancestors on the wall there, they started having kids at 20 and were married at 18. So do I look young? Maybe when I shave, but 28, 28 is not young anymore.
Here's one from Milo Phone Bill on Locals. It says, do you think that the POTUS can use a rubber stamp signature to sign a pardon? So in other words, could Hunter be pardoned?
If he authorized it, he can.
Yeah.
If he authorized it. One reason why I didn't bitch about the pardon power is because I am a unitary executive guy. and you know what that means. But I don't believe in the independence of the FCC or the SEC, meaning we have three branches of government in our country, right? The SEC and the FCC are like these weird hybrids that Congress thinks that they can create, that are created by Congress, be it the president appoints them, but yet they're supposed to be independent. It's all bullshit. It's unconstitutional. The president has the power to direct the SEC because we have executive, legislative, and judicial. If the judicial doesn't like what the executive does with the SEC, well, then sue his ass. But everything has to work properly, and we have three branches of government. They got on my soapbox about this because I'm in the same vein, in that unitary executive theory, the president's pardon powers are unrivaled, right? The president can pardon any federal offense. So is it corrupt that Joey's likely going to pardon Hunter? Of course. It's nepotistic. It's disgusting. Yeah. Nobody in this country knows how disgusting Hunter is as much as me. But because Joey cheated, and even in spite of Joey cheating to get in the office, he can pardon him. Joey's the president. Was there election fraud? Of course there was, just like with Kennedy in 60. But one last, lovely to see you. I knew Garrett had two kids. I hope number 3 is a girl. Well, your hope is correct. Our baby girl, Mary, was just born on July 13th. So,
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah, that's news
number
since
3.
I spoke to you last. That's Augie. New. One of our Marco Polo fans. She's an artist. She, not unlike Hunter. She actually does real art. She did this. This is Augie, and with my wife, and then
amazing. Okay.
Yeah, they're drawings, and then this one is Harry with me. This is the key to the White House. So somebody asked if I was a Fed. No, Feds don't get this. This is the key to the Trump White House. All political appointees got it.
Wow, that is.
It's kind of cool. I'll never sell these things, but
no way. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
It has DJT's name on it.
Wow.
I usually
don't show
that
is.
I don't think people are interested. But
yeah, that's cool. Awesome. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I am definitely jealous of that. That is very cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be there September 9th. Does your mom comb your hair? No, she doesn't. But I do have a comb over. You can, if you oppose that, I'm sorry. What is that quote? You can't please all the people all the time, but I'll be there September 9th. We're prayers for our litigation with Hunter.
Yeah.
I'd love to come on your program as much as possible. I'll only want to, though, when it's something like this. And remember, just so for, the order was published on the 24th. They replied within 72 hours, but Scarsey hasn't ruled on it yet.
Okay.
So there's nothing, there's no news yet. We don't know how Scarsey is going to rule.
Right. Well, man, we love talking to you. You are a wealth of knowledge, and you can see things like you're seeing through the matrix, just connecting all the dots. So we always love having you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for hanging out and answering some questions.
I'm gonna send you one today. You'll get it by Tuesday.
Amazing. I can't wait for it. We'll plug it again here. Make sure everybody gets their copies. Links are all down there on the video. You see those scrolling at the bottom. So make sure you go support Garrett. He needs it. The team needs it.
The team needs it. Yes. None of the donations go to me. It all goes to the nonprofit, and it's administered by an accountant and overseen by a board.
And we're grateful to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us.
God bless you.
God bless you back, Matt. We'll see you later, my friends. That is Garrett Ziegler in the house. You know all the links. MarcoPoloUSA.org, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. It's always so fun to talk to him. It's like a fire hose of information. So Marco Polo USA, Garrett Ziegler. This is the book. There's a new copy out, a new edition out, 4th edition. And so check out all the links to go and support him. And I think that when we were talking about this being the first, we talk about this concept of the first domino a lot, right? What is the first thing that just knocks that first domino off that then compounds, and suddenly we see a whole society change? I think it's guys like Garrett, the work that they're doing. They're fighting. It's a David versus Goliath situation, fighting the Biden family, the president and his entire apparatus to stop anyone from discovering their corruption. So we're always so grateful to have Garrett on. Thanks, as always, for supporting him in the work. I want to make sure we say thank you to some of those other donos that came in. You guys are awesome. What's up, Mickey? Mickey sent this one in, became a new YouTube membo. We did a morning stream for membos this morning. So we did a morning stream where we talked about, it was a fun one, actually. We're learning more about the rules of blackness in America. So we spent a lot of time on that. So check that out this morning, Mickey. We got this one from Mima. 7 months as a membo. Thank you for that. 7 months as a membo. Mima in the house. And it's great to see everybody. Hey, we got some clips happening over here. So I forgot. All right, I'm on sort of interview mode right now. But we got our amazing mods in the house clipping away for us, including Bradford is in the house. Bradford, welcome aboard as a supporter. Great to have you. Thank you, K-Bean, for clipping for us on the tubes. Mima says, hi all, I hope you are well. I've been busy preparing for my return to work next Monday, in a very exciting new job. Woo! As I will work full-time on site, I will be here less often. Just know I miss you all, and we'll miss you all. All right, well, I guess we're going to have to reschedule the show for whenever Mima gets off work. All right, so Mima, we're going to miss you, but thank you for the heads up on it, and thank you for letting us know you've got an awesome job. How fun is that? Very exciting. I like very exciting new jobs. It's good when you find your purpose, and you can work towards your purpose. Great to see you, Mima. We'll miss you. We got a baby! Queen Bee's Art Hive in the house says, we had a baby, Rob. We sure did. A big one. 9 months, baby. I love you and the watchers. We love you back, Queen Bee's Art Hive. Thank you for having a baby with us. Full term, 9 months. I think he's going to be a soccer player. Thank you, David DeHart in the house. Says, oh, David, you're offering solutions to the world out there. Says, I offered the Secret Service my RV because it has Starlink nationwide Wi-Fi and and connectivity. It's very cheap, $150 a month. They said no. They're like, what, do you want us to fly a drone or like stops people from being shot? No, we are not interested in your solution. Thanks, but no thanks, David. For Lexar says, if Joe is diagnosed with dementia, can he pardon? Well, I mean, I think legally, probably not, because he wouldn't have the capacity to do anything, really. Dementia would diminish your capacity to do things in many ways. So I don't know if that would work, but they would never diagnose him with dementia until after he made the pardon. Hey, what's up, Spuds? Garrett answered that one. That was a great question. MAGA Hat Stays says, it is official. This is official from MAGA Hat Stays. Says that there were documents obtained beyond a shadow of a doubt by Greg Stenstrom and Princess Leia. Something about charges against Governor Shapiro. Oh, interesting. Has he been charged with a crime like today? Interesting. MAGA Hat says, breaking. CISA and the FBI are warning about cyber attacks might stop us from getting information about the 2024 election. These same agencies told you America's voting machines were never connected to the interwebs, no doubt. V is Never Silent says, Garrett rocks. Thanks so much to both of you for shining that big, beautiful spotlight. Thank you for joining us, V is Never Silent. Garrett's the man. We love talking to him. B.H. Williams says, have to agree. There are some good people in the FBI and the DOJ. I've met and worked with some, but I think he's right. And since Mueller was FBI director, it has been sliding into corruption. And Reno was corrupt, so it goes back pretty far. Yeah, and I think that is true. You hear a lot of the platitudes, like Sean Hannity says that all the time. The rank and file members of the FBI love America. Really? Like what rank and file members? What have you seen? The guys who raided Trump's residence? Those were pretty rank and file. Why'd they raid the residence of Trump? I don't know. Peter Strzok and those guys, they were not, it's not only the upper echelon. It's a lot of people down the line too. Deputy, assistant deputy, all of them, right? They're all corrupt. So what's up? This one came out from MAGA Hat. Yeah, we got some new updates. The case is going back down to Judge Chutkan's courtroom. So the J6 case will be happening again at some point. Chad Brummett says, if Kamala wins, I'm going to turn into that meme crying guy when Trump won the first time. This media honeymoon is forever, but keep the faith and let's win. That's true, man. They've been really enjoying themselves. It's been like a real, just a long session for them. You're like, are you guys done? NY, what's up? NY says the only mechanism to deal with the presidential incapacity is the 25th Amendment. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. They'd have to remove him. But if he had like legal dementia, he would need to be removed. But he does, and he has not been removed. So E. Harris says, I think it would be contingent, right? If he had a dementia diagnosis from a doctor, they're probably 25th Amendmenting him. E. Harris says, I already posted the $3,000 from Chutkin. Yes, you did. It's right there. Thank you, Ethan Harris. You did. Chutkin. So Trump got money back because he had to post bond on the appeal, and he got $3,000 back from Judge Chutkin. So super fun. Thank you, E. Harris, for sending those in. And all of those amazing and incredible donos, my friends. And thanks to our friends who were clipping for us. K. Bean, John McGarvey in the house. You guys are rocking. Carrie B was clipping for us this morning. K. Bean's modding the fort down for us today, too. Amazing to see you. Playing Hookie's in the house. What's up, Playing Hookie? We love our mods. Let's see what else we have. All right, we're going to jump over to X and then wrap it up, go over to locals for our members only after party on the day. Then we'll leave it there. On the week, let's see. Who's joining us on X? Anybody partaking in the convo over there? A couple comments. Here's one from Steve Andrews. Did they ignore attorney-client privilege during the New York trial? Which New York trial? Trump's brag? I don't know that attorney-client privilege ever really came into it a whole lot. And we had a comment from D. Tex in the house. And it's good to see our friends over on the X platform. But, my friends, we are going to leave it there. YouTube members, make sure you grab the stream from this morning. We had a great members-only stream. Locals, friends, we'll see you back over on a Locals. We're going to come over there and hang out and debrief for a little bit and say what's up. Otherwise, my friends, it has been a heck of a week. We've covered a ton of stuff, and we're really grateful that we get to go through this with you together as we go through it, because Lord knows it'd be a mess if we had to do it alone. Here, this one came in from B.H. Williams, says, well, basically, the good FBI people in those field offices are foreign postings who spent little time in D.C. If they work or worked in HQ or D.C. field office, be very careful. Be careful anyway, no matter what, but D.C. is a swamp for a reason. Hey, here's one. The recession looks like it's coming. Here's one. We did it, Joe. We did it. The Dow's down 700 points. We did it, Joe. All right, so we're going over to Locals to hang out over there, my friends. And so come and join us. Membos will also be back tomorrow morning with a Membos Saturday stream. We do that at 9 a.m., 12 noon Eastern time for our Saturday streams. Those are a lot of fun. YouTube friends, Locals friends. We'll see you there. But my friends, we're going to leave it there on this Friday. It's an amazing Friday. Fresh new month. August is ahead of us. We're excited to see what it has in store. And so until we come back here next week, I want to wish you the best weekend you could ever possibly imagine. Hopefully you've got something fun and incredible planned, something exciting, something delicious, something inspirational, something creative, whatever it is you're up to. I hope it's absolutely outstanding so that when we come back here on Monday, we are recharged and ready to go. Our energy tanks have been refilled, our spirits have been restored, and our souls have been rejuvenated so that we can come back in here on Monday and get into the business that we need to attend to, because we need to do it. And in order to do it right, we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful weekend, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.